You might be wondering how it is that I connected with Saint Hildegard of Bingen. I'd like to share my story with you so you can see how all of this came into being. So now I'm going to tell you the story of how Saint Hildegard came into my life and what happened. I will never forget the day when Saint Hildegard came into my life. I had just moved to New York City from Mexico. I had been working in Mexico with a Tomi Indian, doing literacy work, and I had been living with a religious community. And my heart was broken when I moved to New York. I knew that the nuns that I had lived with did not respect the indigenous people. And I also knew that they had shut down their bodies and didn't even respect themselves as women. So there I was in New York, heartbroken, and I saw this ad in a newspaper. It had been pointed out to me, look at this. And as soon as I read that article, I went, oh, I have to go to this. And it was a workshop that was being given by a theologian named Matthew Fox. So there I was in Matthew's workshop, and afterwards I went up to him and just poured out my heart. I said, why is it that the church is like this? You know, and he had just written this beautiful book called Original Blessing, where he talks about how we're born as blessings. So I trusted him. And what he said to me that day changed my life forever. He asked me, Janine, how do you connect to God? And out of my mouth came the words, I sing. And then he said to me, forget about the Vatican. Check out Hildegard of Bingen. And I did. And I found out that she lived to be 81 years old in the 12th century. That would be like you and me living to be 150 years old. And then I found out that she had created not one, but 2 monasteries that were financially independent of the men of her day. Now she really had my attention. And then I found out, yeah, I sing. Well, you know what? So did Saint Hildegard. She was the most prolific composer of her day. And she sang not once, but 6 times every day. So I kept studying. But it was when I started singing her music that she really grabbed hold of me. When singing Hildegard's music, for me it was like getting plugged into the socket. I had so much energy. I remember the first time I started singing her music, I would show up at choir rehearsal, tired after a day of teaching, and then I went off after rehearsal full of beans, like I could climb the nearest mountain. So then I started looking at images of her, and I noticed that in all of the images, there's usually this fire that's coming down into her. And I was curious, what is that about? And it wasn't until a few years after starting singing her music that I experienced that fire. I was in a class studying towards my doctorate in ministry, and I was there because I was thinking, I'm going to create a curriculum on Saint Hildegard of Bingen. And in this class, I was in meditation, and it was like this wave came into me, an energetic wave. And in the wave, I had this deep knowing. And the voice said, you are not going to create a curriculum on me. You are going to put your healing stage, as it's been inspired by me, you are going to put your healing journey, as it has been inspired by me, on a stage. I remember being absolutely taken aback by this knowing. In fact, more than taken aback, I was terrified. I couldn't do that. I'm an introvert. I can't get on a stage and perform in front of people and share these most intimate details of my life. But you know, that's exactly what happened. And 2 years after that meditation class, I was on a stage. I had created what is called Feathers on the Breath of God, a performance piece showing my healing journey as it had been inspired by Hildegard of Bingen. But deep inside me, there was also this yearning to teach, to really share my experiences with her music and with her healing guidances. She knew how plants could heal, and she wrote about it. And so I started teaching. I had individual and group sessions, and then 2 years ago I taught a class live here in Boulder. And all the while this energy that I had received that day in that class was with me. And I knew that Hildegard knew that same energy. And so the point of this class is for you, dear student, to feel this same energy, to access this divine flow. And that's what we're going to be about going forward. As you heard in my story, my connection with Saint Hildegard of Bingen has been about the arts and healing. I consider Saint Hildegard to be a master teacher when it comes to creativity. You are going to learn how to master your creativity in this video series. And you're going to hear some incredibly inspiring stories from my clients in the following videos. So let's look now at our first technique. Saint Hildegard and I will be your guides as we let you in on the first key to mastering your creativity. Saint Hildegard of Bingen wrote countless letters. Here is Saint Hildegard's letter to Elizabeth of Schöngau. There is a copy of it in this book, Hildegard of Bingen's Book of Divine Works, with letters and songs, edited by Matthew Fox. Hildegard writes, Elizabeth, O daughter of God, out of your love for God, you call me mother. Listen then to your mother and learn moderation. For moderation is the mother of all virtues, for everything heavenly and earthly. For it is through moderation that the body is nourished with the proper discipline. When there are unseasonable downpours, the fruit and vegetables growing on earth are damaged. When a field has not been plowed, you do not find good grain springing up. Instead, there are only useless weeds. It's the same with a person who lays on herself more strain than her body can endure. This is a sign that the effects of holy discretion are weak in such a person. And all of this immoderate straining and abstinence bring nothing useful to such a soul. So when Saint Hildegard talks about the importance of not putting so much strain on ourselves, I asked her, okay, how do we find this way of moderation? And therefore, the ability to be useful? And the answer came, play. As we bring play into our lives, we release stress. We become totally present and can let go of our worry and sorrows, we also tap into this beautiful flow within ourselves called inspiration.